explanation, because if you're a coach, you kind of have to know some background about why, because those are the questions that people, when they come to your, wherever it is, your house or wherever you're having it, they're gonna wanna know why. And why we should eat a whole food plant-based, because it's completely, you're gonna learn the differences between a vegan diet compared to whole food plant-based, because it's a huge difference. As you know, you could be an unhealthy vegan, which a lot of people, they call themselves vegan, but they're really unhealthy if you're eating a lot of processed foods. So we try to stick to just the actual whole foods that are plant-based.
Yeah, maybe you can make a real clear distinction about what is.
Yeah, feel free to pipe in.
A lot of people refer to themselves as vegan or vegetarian without really understanding how those things differ from one another and how they differ from whole food plant-based. And we, although what we do is vegan, we don't identify so much as vegan as being whole food plant-based, because vegan and vegetarian focus on what you don't do or what you don't eat, and our focus is really on what we do eat. Mm-hmm. And the idea is whole food, as little processing as possible. Obviously 0 is no processing, but we all have some things that we include in our diet, like for example tempeh and tofu. They are what they consider moderately processed, and those are things that typically are included in our diet, although they don't necessarily need to be. So if somebody says, well, are you vegan? Well, it's like, well, yeah, sort of, but we're whole food.
People know the word more, I think. The word
exactly,
is more
it has
common.
Much greater recognition. So
right.
I just want to make sure that we have.
Oh yeah,
right.
Definitely. So definitely type in. So we'll be learning about just the differences and the terminology and what it really means. The biggest question that I think people always ask is, where do you get your protein? Yeah. Oh my God, if they hear that, I can't go on a vegan diet or whole food. Well, people don't even, honestly, people are still calling it vegan, but, so they want to, I can't do it because I don't get enough protein. I have to get enough, I'm talking to my middle school kids too, that, my parents will never let me do that. So you're going to learn about where you get your protein, because honestly, you can get it in like just eating a variety of plants. You could get it. So some have more protein than others, but you'd get an adequate amount just having the variety. So you'll learn a lot more detail about that during the actual training.
And where do you get your calcium?
Mm-hmm.
To kind of piggyback off you, just yesterday I was listening to a video by Dr. Milton, and he was saying we get our protein the same way the animals get their protein, from the plants.
Yeah.
Animals get their protein from the plants, they get their calcium from the plants, and we eat them. So instead of eating them, why not just eat the plants and we get it better?
Yes,
so
absolutely.
Calcium, I learned watching a movie that there's more calcium in a quarter cup of parsley than 80 ounces of milk. Who knew?
Mm-hmm.
I put parsley in a lot of my food now because it adds so much flavor.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it adds calcium. So things like
I just
that.
piggyback on that too, because working in a school, the dairy industry just pushes milk, and I can't get away from it. So I mean, most of the kids in the class all drinking lots of milk. And I do get myself sometimes in a little trouble because I'm telling them that's, milk does not do the body good. So it's, but this is what they've been trained, just like us. I raised my kids on milk because I really thought that's what it was, because that's all we heard about. And the materials that the dairy industry is sending to the schools is all about that. And I told the kids too, when they start researching about it, it's going to pop up how milk is actually very good. Because you have to do a lot of research, because they pay money, as you know, about the search optimization to get it up there. So it's very difficult actually to find this information. So that's a really interesting part. But I think there's a video, I don't know when it's coming out, called Game Changers, about vegan athletes, that I think will make a change.
Yes, many of the top athletes, elite athletes that are winning championships and world gold medals and world champion tennis players are seeing the benefits of a whole food plant-based diet for performance as well as recovery, quicker recovery. So if there's any athletes, are there any athletes, or runners especially, You will, if you're lifting weights, there's a bodybuilder that has won a championship world, and he's been his whole life plant-based. So you don't need all that whey protein that we think we need. And it's just, you know, there's, like I said, we get everything that we need from plants. And discussion about discussion about nutrients. So we will go more in depth about, in our full day program, about the nutrients in our vegetables and our fruits, and how to get the most. Like, is it better raw, or is it better cooked, and is it better cooked at a certain temperature? And that's kind of confusing for most people. So we will cover things like that, because I know you're an expert on all of that, aren't you? With your cooking temperatures.
I don't know if I'm the expert, but
You know a lot about it.
yeah, we do cook a lot, so I'm sure you guys do too. But we host monthly classes here, and then we have plant-based classes here as well, because we have a variety of different customers, and we need to address all their needs. But being plant-based and whole foods, if I can say, cooking instructor or cooking coach, it's really something that I am proud of. So that's what we do. So we'll cover that a little bit.
Is Joan here?
I am.
Yeah. Okay, are you going to, you're up next, read labels.
So this is Joan, she's also on the board.
Did you want to introduce yourself? We introduced ourselves
Well,
when you were
I'm
here.
sorry, yes. I am a nurse, and I'm one of these folks that can speak to the folks that's reluctantly in the class. How do I cook this way and get out of the kitchen as quickly as I can?
Yeah.
Because we are going to have those kind of people,
Right.
and that's where I'm at. So, I'll speak to that, but specifically looking at labels, we need to do that, and we need to teach our folks that are in our class, well, how do you read a label? It can be confusing, but there are some tips so you can go through it easily. Now, there are some folks who say, and Dr. Esselton told me when I call, oh, it's so hard to read those labels. And Dr. Esselton is at the Cleveland Clinic and a very strong proponent of plant-based eating. Well, when I complained, you know what his sympathetic response is? What are you doing reading labels? Oh, golly, that's really tough for someone who, didn't do much cooking. So, you don't have to read labels if you start with the whole plant. There's no label on an orange or an apple. But if we're going to use some simply processed or minimally processed foods, we still are going to be reading the label. And sometimes when you see an ingredient list this long, or you see the second ingredient as oil, you don't have to go much further. So there are some tips to make it easy, because label reading is not usually people's favorite activity. And, but we have to do it. And, with our magnifying glasses, we're going to read those labels, and then we're going to teach some basic tips about how we can do this in the most time-efficient way, even in the grocery store where the lighting is dark and you have to peel back they always put the bad information in the crack, don't they?
Yeah.
So you have to kind of.
They hide it.
So there's lots of tips we can talk about labeling.
One thing that really surprised me was so many of the frozen foods, because sometimes I'll get like frozen corn or peas or edamame or whatever. And many of the frozen foods, you look at it and it has all this beautiful yellow corn and you think, oh, I'll pick that up. And you turn the bag over and it's got like 7 or 8 different things in there.
Yep.
So even when you think you're just getting a frozen fruit or a frozen vegetable, double check. And also even the stuff that you're used to getting, sometimes they change the ingredients.
Yes.
So it's not a bad habit to get into, and saying when you're going to pick up something familiar, to pick it up and then just glance on the back to see if there's anything new.
Because most of it is marketing, as you know.
Right.
So we'll learn how to get through that. And these are things that you could also share with the people that you're also teaching. Yes.
And another thing they do is when they put their labels on, they put by percentages. When they do it by volume rather than calories, and that has this thing
Yes.
like 2% milk is not 2% of the calories are fat. It's like 30%. I mean, it's really deceptive.
Right, absolutely.
And then really reading labels is important, and like became my second nature. Because I remember once we were cooking with our customers and she said, can you show me how to cook rice? I'm like, absolutely. And I'm like, why are you having issues with rice? She's like, oh, lately the rice, it's becoming like, you know, mushy like a paste. I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, it doesn't have grains anymore after I cook it. I'm like, can I see your rice? She brings me the box, I read, I'm like, there is 10 different ingredients in there. I guarantee you rice is probably 1% of what you're cooking. That's why it comes apart. It's not rice.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's in the rice, it should be only rice.
Only rice, yeah.
Nothing else. And then, you know, if the ingredients were this big in the list, so it's important to know which you eat.
Yeah.
Short grain rice.
Right.
It says rice.
Yeah, it should be only rice.
No, nothing else.
Okay. Another thing we need to talk about, and you know, no one's expecting you to become a medical expert, although I'm sure some of you are, and if you've done a lot of research, you know a lot more than many health professionals. But that being said, we do need to address some questions of some nutrients because people need to know, and they'll be much more motivated in your class to cook this way if we know a little bit about cholesterol, fiber, and connections with heart disease and diabetes. So not to say you need to bring out tons of charts because people will want to be cooking, but we do need to make some basic clarifications because there's so much misinformation. Cholesterol, eggs are back, they said it wasn't a nutrient of concern. You know, so then we kind of need to be able to deflect, or maybe, you know, someone says, well, what's wrong with the eggs? Maybe they're not really, you know, I want to do everything, but I do love my eggs. Well, what's wrong? I just read an article. You need to be able to deflect that quickly, simply, but with facts. So you do need a bit of information. And the whole issue about fiber, where, you know, as Dr. Greger says, we shouldn't be talking where do you get your protein, where do you get your fiber, and show, here's what the average American, here's what's recommended by the guidelines, which are pretty darn conservative. And here's where Americans are, and we are so pathetically low in fiber. So, you know, we'll be talking a little bit about that and how much, you know, fiber is in the food that you're cooking. And then we'll also review there, and it just could be a poster, you know, just here's the latest. Did you see the new article about dietary is the biggest risk factor? It's moved up. Food will kill you. The bad kind of food. So, you know, just having maybe something posted to kind of show that strong connection between disease and processed foods and animal foods. So, I don't know that I need to go.
No, I think that's good. We're gonna go into detail.
Because I talk a lot, so I don't want to take over here.
But to add really quickly, if anyone wants to take pictures, I have pictures over there on the bulletin board over there. One is from, I'll show you, one is from Veggie Fest, from the Science of Spirituality. This has a list of food, plants actually, and it shows you how much protein is in 1 cup of them. So if you want, you can take a picture of that maybe for the meeting.
Would you mind passing that around?
Yeah, that's a good
Absolutely.
idea, great
And
idea.
then, yeah, we can actually include it in the packet.
Great idea, I like
And then the other one is from, that one is going to be hard to remove because it's not laminated. It's the nutrition rainbow from
I've seen that,
CRM.
yeah, that one I've
Okay,
seen.
so we can laminate that one as well. So actually, I'm Food for Life instructor with the CRM as well. So Dr. Bernard and us, we recommend at least 9 servings of fruits and vegetables a day. A beautiful rainbow, okay? Average American has 1 or 2 maybe a day.
And one of them's French fries, right?
Exactly.
French fries and ketchup, you got those.
Well, there we go, we got it covered, boy.
So,
Yes. Calorie density.
Yes, with Chef AJ's program.
What, are you talking about it at all, when you talk about the rainbow?
Yeah, yeah, it kind of goes in hand in our whole program, the food density and calories. Eva, how to cook without oil, on the stovetop, and baking and roasting vegetables. You're up.
Oh, yes, this is her field.
yes, it's my field. Yeah, I'm fortunate because with Salad Master you can cook with 0 oil. Okay, this is the only if I could say utensil out there that allows you completely to cook with zero oil and zero
There
water.
are some others.
And zero water, okay? So for regular, let's just say, you know, the best one, I would recommend, I do not recommend nonstick at all because it's very toxic. So when we do the classes, we talk to people about, you know, what really is in a nonstick, which we're not gonna go over today, but when you cook in the stainless steel, and then you wanna roast your vegetables, you obviously gonna put a little bit of water, just the droplets of water. If you wanna sort of make it like a stir frying, a lot of people usually use oil, right? We're not cooking with oil, so for the stir frying, you're gonna use less amount of water, and then you're just gonna cook it quickly. The less amount of your food spent on the pan, the better for you and then for the vitamins and minerals in the food, okay? A lot of people come up to me and they say, but I need oil because my vitamins and the minerals, they're not gonna absorb. The oil is needed. And I said, okay, great, get the oil from avocado. Okay, eat an avocado, and there's your oil. Eat almonds or other nuts, comes your oil. Even, you know, rice has some oil in it because it's seeds. You know, any other seeds will provide that oil that is needed in your body. And then for baking, I don't know about you ladies, I usually use the parchment paper.
Oh yeah, parchment paper or
The silk pack.
yes.
Or the silk paper. Yeah, I haven't used the silk pack yet, but
Yeah.
the parchment paper.
Yeah.
That's what I do. I use that, but yeah, covering them will also, you know, speed up the cooking process. And I like my vegetables crunchy, so I don't like them mushy.
Right.
So the key is little water and then short time, you know, to cook it and on the stove top. Yes.
Isn't steaming an easy option?
Oh, steaming is great.
Steaming,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
Steaming. I didn't mention steaming because that's something that I don't actually do. But yeah, it could be an option, and some people do blanching as well when they boil water and then you know they blanch it for it. Just, again, remember it has to be short time because then you know you're gonna kill unfortunately a lot of nutrients in your food. Okay.
Okay. So the other requirement that we're going to ask of you if you're gonna do this training is to get a food safety handling certificate. It's only $10, I believe, and it's only 30 minutes online, so it's not a huge deal. Also, we're going to, we thought it would be a good idea to the first time that you do a cooking class, that somebody on the board would just observe. And it's not really to be critical, it's really to be there to help guide you in case you have any questions or whatever. So we're really here, even beyond the one-day training, to actually help you and know that you have a big community to help guide you. Okay. Okay, so as far as the other fees, PBNM would like to support you. Obviously they're gonna support you, but it's through they're the ones that are gonna be advertising the class. You know, whenever you have a class, you would notify PBNM, and so they would do all the marketing and advertising, and you would get support, obviously, from all the trainers. And you will be charging, this is what we suggested, the $20 a person to come to whatever venue that you have. And then PBNM is going to charge you just $25 for each class, so it doesn't matter how many people you have. So that'll be a way for us, the organization, to get funding. But PBNM is going to be paying for all the advertising and administrative assistance and collecting all the fees. So they will sign up through our site, and then all the money would go to you minus $25.
If I can interject
Yes,
here.
go ahead, please.
Because I'm the one that does
Yes.
most of the marketing
Yes.
stuff. And we do things primarily through Meetup, through our website, and through social media. So as soon as we have information on a class that's starting, like if you were to decide that you were going to hold a class in your home, for example, and your limit was 8 people or whatever it is that you're comfortable with, then you let me know that, and I will create a little event, like a repeating, if you're going to have it the first Tuesday of every month, or the second Thursday, or on a Sunday afternoon, whatever it is that is going to be your schedule. let me know that, and I will set up the meetup for it as a recurring event. And then I will send you the link to that so that you can start promoting it within your own network. So if you're on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or whatever it is that you use for, you know, communicating with the outside world and everything, you can forward that to your connections and encourage your people that are within your groups to, you know, to pass it out to them too. So, and we will be doing it as well on our Facebook pages as well. I'm just promoting the event. I'm not going to be creating a new Facebook page for each class, but we certainly will promote it on our Facebook page. We've got a couple. We've got one for Chicago on Plant-Based Nutrition Movement. We've got Plant-Based Nutrition Movement. We've got Plant-Based Nutrition Movement Group. So there's a number of different arteries that we have on Facebook for just that. And we've got an Instagram account. We've got LinkedIn. We've got certainly Twitter and those kinds of things. So I push it out to those things, and on all cases I link to the meetup link. So the meetup is really like the core thing. That's where all of the information is, and the ability for somebody to sign up. Okay?
Okay, so once you go through the certification and, you know, everything is fine, and then you'll end up with a certificate and an apron, a cooking coach apron, which is always nice. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm filling in.
Go ahead.
Okay, an emergency. So there will be people attending your classes, and sometimes you yourself are questioning, is this really? Because we are bombarded with marketing, right? And sometimes we are questioning our own self. Is this really the best way to eat and continue? So we will teach you in the class, we will address how to support yourself and the participants with common questions that we've all experienced ourselves, as well as with people that have attended our classes. We want you to, we'll address how to take people where they are now and just bring them to the next level. If it's Meatless Monday, it's Meatless Monday. If it's, you know, something a little more, and step by step. And that's how we learned how to phase in this new way of eating. And everybody is on a different journey. So we have to be sensitive and approach everyone with kindness, so they will continue and come back. So it's a supporting, loving,
Yeah, because some people are just plain curious. They just want, you know, they're just interested in what it is. So people are going to be attending your classes on all different levels. Because Sherry is not here, but Sherry and I have done a lot of, she's hosted a meetup that we've been co-doing, co-directors or whatever you want to call it, together for the past, she's been doing it for 7 years and I joined for the past 5 years in Lincolnshire. And we've met people from all different walks, and I would assume that that's what it would be for you as well.
And the last item the point that I need to cover is we will provide a waiver for you to provide your students to sign, because we are not physicians, you are not physicians, we can't recommend things, so it's just to protect the organization, protect yourselves, to have an official waiver signed at your classes.
And the next thing is you'll learn about the limitations of cooking coaches. So if somebody comes in and they say they have type 2 diabetes, you want them to advise them to work closely with their physician. Jump in there too as well.
Even if the physician may know less, but
yeah, that is
you know, you kind of say that biting your tongue sometimes, but
that is true.
But even if
to watch their
they're
numbers
changing,
and all that,
yeah, and if they're changing their, they may need to change their medication. So we do need those physicians for monitoring at the very least.
Because the medication most likely will be lowered, you know, that their blood sugar will be going down, naturally with this whole food plant-based way of living. So that's the reason why that they have to be monitored for the medication purpose. So that they can't really give out specific nutritional advice. It's really just general information.
Even though people will come in and ask, I have diabetes, what should I eat? Or what foods can I have? And you need a quick answer, so you don't spend half your class counseling this person you don't wanna get into that, but, you know, there are some, perhaps we can give you some general answers to those kind of questions. And I get all the time people ask me, well, what can I eat for arthritis? Well, what can I eat for, you know, all these, and it's like, isn't it wonderful? We've been designed so one good diet works for all, and we're gonna talk about that, you know.
Right, absolutely. Actually, yeah, Janet, about your imperfect produce.
Yes, imperfect produce, I don't know, a few of us already are subscribing. Can I see a raise of hands, anyone already getting delivery? Just a few people, okay. Well, we're new in the area, and food waste in America is 20 billion pounds a year. 20 billion pounds, is that amazing? Most of it is in the homes actually, and a good portion of it is in restaurants, hospitals, schools, and about 10 to 15% is left on the farms because it is ugly. Because this potato you wouldn't pick up at the grocery store. And there are misshapen things that are on the, and I put googly eyes, you don't get the eyes, but this is a sweet potato that you may not pick up in the bunch when you're shopping for them. And then it's not necessarily, there's nothing wrong with this butternut squash, it's just a baby one, and it's still good.
What's wrong with this one?
Yeah, that's a squash, and it's just, it's small, it's smaller than probably the rest of them on the farm. So a lot of this produce is going to waste because farmers don't have, the labor and the programs to get it to us. This company, Imperfect Produce, has been founded, you could help yourself to a mandarin snack, and I also have, I have some dates.
These are imperfect.
They are imperfect, they look pretty perfect.
I'll tell you, I've been using Imperfect for about the last 6 months, and I'm still waiting for something to show up that
That is
doesn't look
imperfect?
right. Yeah, I think it's great. It's like, okay.
He's complaining, you want a perfect.
And the company also, because so much waste is in our homes, one of the things that we will be including is tips on using not just what's in the recipe, but using what's in your refrigerator that needs to be used before you throw it out. Put it in your stew, put it in your, in your soups, and how to use leftovers and improvise in your recipes. The company also provides storage guide information and some cooking information, but they did also start expanding their inventory to rice and quinoa and beans and canned items and some specialty items that are called short-coated. And I have partnered with our organization, PBNM, to build a fundraiser around anyone who signs up, because you want to eat healthy, you want to eat fresh food, and if you register for a subscription, the company will, and you use the promo code, the code is PBNM, our initials, the company will donate $10 to our organization as a fundraiser. There's been organizations that had 150 signups, so that's $1,500, and that would help us in our fundraising to make this program, develop it, and promote it a little better for all of us. So that is what I wanted to, share about the company. Yes?
I just have a question. How much of the imperfect produce is organic?
You can pick all organic, or you could pick conventional. You don't get a pre-packaged box. You get to pick online everything you want in your box, because we don't want to send you things that you're not going to use. So it's not a pre-packaged box. You order online exactly what you need.
It's such a simple process too, because you go on, you'll get an email that says it's time for you to pick your selection for this week. And when you first sign up, you indicate, like, it depends on how many are in your family and how much produce you eat and everything. And it's just me, so I would just say, I want a $15 box. So they would send me an email, and I would go online, and I choose organic most of the time. So they will give me a list, and I look at the list, I say, well, yeah, I don't want this, but I want that, and you customize it, and you can add things and take off whatever you want that week. You can make it a larger order or a smaller order, just depending on what your preference is for that week and everything. And it's so cool because you will get a text message that lets you know that the driver is very close to delivering your order. And then you get another text message that lets you know that the order has been delivered. So if you are out and about, you're not home, or you're in the house and you just didn't know. If you're like, I'm in a condo, so I don't know when something's being delivered downstairs. So I know that the order's there and I can just run downstairs and pick it up. So it's very, very user friendly.
And you could skip any time. You could sign up for weekly or every other week. If you're on vacation or you want to skip it for a few weeks, it's real easy to do. And the price point is 20 to 30% lower than you would get at the grocery store. So you're saving money, the farmers are getting money, we're saving on food waste. All in all, it's a win-win, and if you sign up with our code, we get a little bit of a donation. So, and if anyone it does decide to do it today, I have a few of these tote bags that you could go home with. If you have any other questions, I'll be around at the end.
Okay, so a little bit more about the training. So we are going to give you handouts that you could actually make copies and give to your people who come to your classes, like a 7-day sample menu and recipes for those just starting out in the whole food plant-based, how to stock your whole food plant-based pantry and refrigerator. And then the biggest thing is the training manual with recipes from 23 classes. And we're going to make it online so that you could also, we're looking for you to add into it as well, because maybe we have different categories, like it'll be pizza making or plant-based burgers, and maybe you have a different recipe that your group came up with or you came up with, you could add on to it. So we want to make this a big community sharing type of thing. So we have it in categories like sushi making, beans and rice. These are a lot of ones that Sherry and I have done, like sauces, comfort foods, casseroles, whatever that you feel you want to choose from here, or if you want to add on to it and have a different theme. So whatever, but you'll have access to lots of recipes. Some may be more complicated than others. Maybe sometimes you just want to do like appetizers or just sample a little bit, so you have the option of doing whatever you want. Because some are easier, some are not. We always did like full-on courses with the whole appetizer, meal, and dessert, but a lot of times we did. That could be too much for you, and that you don't have to do all of that, so whatever. It could just be like soup and salad. I mean, you can make it whatever you want to do, but the options are there, and so we want to make sure that you have access to as much information as possible. So now's the time for you, if you have any questions to help.
Who is doing the training, where is it at, and how are you finding your facilities? I mean, if you don't have a home conducive to it, so those are very important.
Yeah, that has been a struggle. We have a few places that we can go, but it depends on your geographic area. There are a couple of the groups are actually starting up in hospitals, and some of those are allowing some preparation, like if you've got an Instant Pot, for example, you can use that for your cooking tool for the class, or if you have, one of those hot plates, that sort of thing. But finding a place that has a kitchen that allows you, there's some hospitals, some churches that allow it. We've got a couple of them, but one is in Elgin, one is in Fox River Grove. So it really does depend. So if, some people are doing it just in their homes, and that's terrific if you can do that, if you can accommodate people and you're comfortable having people come into your home, that's one thing. But then, your groups are going to be considerably smaller. But that's not a bad thing either.
Don't you get into a legal element though, because it's not a business, but you're charging, and now you're having it in your home. And I really wonder about that. I mean, I've got a tiny place, it wouldn't happen there. But if somebody's got a big facility and they're doing it on a regular basis, is there anything that we have to be?
You guys can probably.
We did it at Sherry's house, and her husband's a lawyer, so
Oh, sorry.
So I don't know.
And the neighbors were complaining, maybe that would raise a flag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's the
It's
thing
one
where the
if
waiver
it's like a
comes
meetup and
in
you're not
as
charging,
well.
but once you
Oh,
start
and that's-
money,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
when-
yeah, it's not completed right now, but we're also going to have a waiver that your guests would have to sign and everything that, basically, deflects any liability and that sort of thing too.
I think
And lets them know that you're, that
Right.
you're not a physician, you're not, you're not prescribing
Right.
anything and that sort of thing, that, these are recommendations and in general and everything, but
And how
people
long
have
is the
dinner
training?
parties, I know that they hire like, people to come in like chefs to cook for people, so I don't know if it's, never thought of it
So
like
that
that.
actually brings up another point.
Yeah.
Just having, I have a food manager certificate, so it's more than what you require. But just having a food manager certificate,
Right.
what happens if somebody does get sick?
Well, that's why in the waiver, I think they're not responsible.
Do you have insurance?
We haven't, we haven't, honestly, Sherry's been doing it for 7 years out of her house, and not once, had a problem, ever.
I have liability insurance. I do catering and cooking classes, and I have liability insurance. So they can't get to my family, but I also do my business in my business name rather than my personal name.
yeah, I know PBNM has liability insurance, and my understanding, and I could be wrong about this, so we would have to double check, but my understanding was that if somebody is cooking for us, that they would be covered, through that liability program.
Yeah, that makes
But,
sense.
by the time we have the
Right.
class, the formal class and everything, we'll make sure that we've got that clarified. Because that's just my recollection, and I'm 72, so.
And where are you gonna have
The training is gonna be here,
Right.
right?
And how
Yeah.
many weeks? And
June
how-
10th, it'll be an all day.
Just one day?
Yeah,
One
it's a
day.
Saturday.
One day.
How long is that day?
24 hours. You just bring your sleeping
Yeah,
bag.
right. I don't have the time in front of me,
I
I think it
think
was
it's,
like
I
9.
think
We
it's like
said
a
9 o'clock.
5-hour, I think it's like a 5-hour kind of thing altogether.
Something like that.
Like 9 to 2 or 9 to 3.
Yeah, I thought it was something like that.
I would just speak to one thing.
Yes.
Some counties I've discovered, because I do some, just programs, and people will come to programs if you offer them food, samples. So I've discovered, the county I live in, McHenry, is very particular. If a program is open to the public, you need a specialized, permit. However, this would not be, this would dance away from that whole issue because this is not open to the public, you have to, register for it,
Right,
et
right,
cetera,
right.
so you're not opening the floodgate.
You're not opening up a door and saying, welcome everybody, and you
Yeah.
just
Just
show
walk
up.
right in.
Right,
Okay.
exactly.
Like a
So,
kitchen.
that
Uh-huh.
shouldn't
And you
be-
also have the option of just doing something, just demonstrating it all and just giving them like a little bit of the samples of it. So you don't have to do a full-on course. Yes.
June 10th is a Monday, is it a
Oh,
Saturday or is it a Monday?
I'm sorry, did I have the wrong date?
Maybe it's the 8th on
It's a
Saturday.
it's a Saturday.
It's a Saturday,
It's
sorry.
definitely a Saturday.
Oh, I'm thinking of last day I have school, sorry.
We're
We're at school, I'm
That's not
sorry.
important to you though. no?
That's why that date was familiar.
But anyway, yeah,
June 8th,
okay, thank you.
it's definitely June 8th.
I have a couple questions. So regarding the fee structure, it's $20 per person. Do you have a recommended fee you should charge the participants? One question. Second question, what happens if you only charge $10 or $15? If you're doing a hands-on or a cooking demonstration and you want to introduce the program to someone, gouging them with a $50 fee, so how do you handle that?
The salient point is that regardless of how many people come, regardless of how many people or how much you charge per person, the fee for that event to PBNM is $25. So if you charge $10 and you've got 8 people that show up, you're paying us $25, for the marketing and the support. And whatever the difference is, but you've got to remember too that you've got to purchase whatever supplies that you need for that event.
But you said it's $20 per
That's a
person for
recommended.
attendance.
That's just a
I'm sorry,
Oh,
that's just a recommended.
To charge the guests.
Just
Yeah.
charge,
Oh,
yes,
okay, I
that's
thought
what we've
it
been
was-
charging and
Okay.
it wasn't a problem.
I read it,
Yeah,
misread it, I
sorry.
thought it was $20.
Yeah.
We paid you $20.
No, no, no,
No,
no,
no,
no,
no.
it's
That would
a
be
one
way too
fee,
much.
I see, thank you.
yeah.
And again, if you're planning the meal, you're not planning a meal so everybody's fully fed. Like you said, it could be all appetizers. So
Exactly.
it's just so everybody has a taste of it.
Right.
That's it, it's more of an educational,
Right.
informative, and they're gonna be, to expose them to all the different things. So
Right.
whichever way you wanna do it, whatever way you're comfortable.
Yeah, and if the situation is such where people can hands-on participate a little bit in the process of preparing
Right.
whatever it is, then they take a little bit more ownership of, oh, well, this sauteing without oil is not such a big deal after all. Or, gee, I thought you had to cook carrots longer to have
Right.
them be edible and stuff. That was a shock to me. It's like 2 or 3 minutes, and I used to do like 15 or 20, and they wondered why they had no taste.
Yeah, right.
Or it's that wow, oh, it tastes so good, and I was afraid I'm not gonna like it.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
another
Yeah.
thing,
Right.
absolutely, absolutely.
So there's a lot of options, it's all under your control on how you want to run it. Maybe you just wanna make one thing and have them, like you said, hands-on is the best way. But they don't have to have hands-on with everything, maybe just one thing, and then you could just demo something. So it's totally up to you how you wanna run it.
It
It's
does
totally up to
add
you.
an element of fun though.
That
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah.
I mean, like, I did zucchini noodles, and
Oh, that's fun,
people just
yeah.
love it, oh, let me have a turn, and they're getting longer and longer,
Oh, yeah,
you know.
that's fun.
So it's just, for me being a non-cook, I don't wanna do all that prep, but I could bring some zucchini in and show them, and then they can take it, and then they would have felt like, well, yeah, I actually did something.
And then you can
But-
put it in one big wok or whatever, and
Yeah.
just have them taste it, so you can make it a fun, easy, it doesn't have to be this, really laborious.
So I do understand there's the online class that's $10, and then
The food handling
The
certificate.
food
right,
handling.
the food handling
Right, right.
certificate. But then there's the other part to this that you're charging out $90 for this class as well.
No. Well,
Oh.
it's signing up to be in the program is the cost for,
So we're
it's just a
we're paying to
one-time.
just be in the program.
Mhm,
Okay.
mhm,
Just a one-time fee.
mhm.
That includes the class,
All
there's
access to everything.
There's
Right.
23 different menu options with recipes that our team has put together. I don't think, you kind of skimmed over that, maybe.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
didn't
Well, you
understand
made it sound like we could pick what we wanted to do. It didn't
Yes.
sound like
There's
there's
gotta be-
out these 23.
Yeah, there's 23 classes,
Right.
and each one of them has suggestions from which you can choose, although you're not limited to those things if you have other options.
So there's going to be 23 over the course of the year, or starting in
manual.
June.
23 is what we have right now, and obviously we're always.
Any of them.
No, absolutely, you don't have to use any of them. This is just another resource that you could have, and they're broken down into categories.
The 90 was the part that kind of caught me
Oh.
off guard, so I was.
Sorry, yeah.
How do you handle people with food allergies?
Is that part of the meetup? Can they write that down?
Other plans.
Because I think we find that out. When they sign up for the class, doesn't it say,
Yeah,
doesn't it
I
ask
think
for
we would
that?
put that language in the, when we put the meetup itself, if there's anything like that we have to be aware of, so that the
The biggest
instructor
thing
knows.
is gluten. We've gotten a lot of people that are gluten-free,
Right.
seem to be the bigger thing.
And if you do a tasting, you just have the recipe out so they can read it themselves.
Right,
Probably
exactly.
what's inside.
Right.
Yeah,
Mhm.
good idea,
Right.
absolutely.
And they know ahead of time, and I think it would say that they could contact you if they have any allergies, so that you could,
And Karen, your group, why don't you speak, the group that you and Sherry did, you had repeat people.
Oh, most of them were repeat.
It's a core group
Most
that
of them, yeah,
builds it.
here
It's
we
not
are.
all new
Yeah.
people.
Most of them are repeat, and then, they would come and go, but we always had a core group that came all the time.
So the goal is to get some, a support, a cooking club, teaching how to eat this way, and the fellowship of it, and then they may bring a guest one time, or, different people may come and go, but you're the core leader, and other people would be, say you have 4 or 5 core people, friends of yours, that are friends or family, and then it just kind of builds around there. So getting started is probably the hardest part, but once you get it started and get your schedule together, people would want to come to learn more and we have fun.
Right, depends where you live. We always had it was pretty much full all the time.
I
Yes.
think that's my confusion, because I'm not techie and I'm not on social media, and I don't really understand how you get it going.
Well, Judy
I
will
think
set
you
it all
covered part of
up.
it, and I was busy taking my picture of that chart, so I just didn't.
You would have to have, how are you gonna post it, like where are you gonna do it at? That would be the number one, and once you know, then you give Judy the date and the place and the time, and then she does that part. So they sign up through her, but again, you can get the info from her.
That's true.
That's
Yeah,
how that works.
We put it on Meetup, okay, which, that's, I don't know if you've ever seen Meetup or what, but okay.
I get the emails.
Okay, so
sometimes
it's very prolific, and people sign up from that, but, you know, the key is to have as much content about what the class is going to be about, where it is, time, and
So
that
I
sort
would
of thing.
figure out my plan of what I'd like to do.
You figure out what you
Date
wanna
and a
do,
place,
and then
and
let
then I
me
would let
know,
you
and, yeah, you just send me an email with whatever that content is, and I put it up on social media and on Meetup.
I
Okay.
have a question.
Uh-huh.
So, assuming that everybody's just sitting in this room as a base is gonna start their own little group, you're gonna have emails going out to everybody on the mailing list about all 30 different meetups. I mean, if I live in Gurnee or whatever, I really don't care what's going on in Tinley Park. Is there a way to?
Well, do you get our newsletters now?
I do, and I don't read them because there's so many.
I send it out once a month. It's one a month.
No, I mean,
The
You're
notices,
talking
I
about-
think she's
I agree with
talking
you.
about.
I mean,
Oh, the
She's
meetup,
talking
the
about
notices
meetups,
from me,
right.
yeah, that's not coming from
Oh,
me,
I
that's
see.
their
It's
system.
getting-
And you can
that-
adjust your meetup,
Absolutely,
how many
that's
emails
in
you
your
get.
settings.
I know what
That's
you're
in
saying.
your-
but even
Get
despite, what I'm
bombarded.
trying to say is, even if I
I
say that
agree,
you just,
I agree.
even if Meetup is just emailing me once a week, when they do email me, I'm getting for 5 or 6 or maybe 10 different locations.
Right.
And I don't even open them because I'm like, I really don't care what's going on, sorry,
In
if you
Chicago
guys
or
live
something, yeah.
45 miles away from me.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if you're gonna split it up maybe more by
Well, one of the
county
things,
or-
not yet, we're still too new, but one of the things, like, for example, we just started the PBNM groups. They, there's one group that had started through Plant Pure Nation down in Plainfield back in May of last year, I think was his first meeting, okay? But other than that one, we have a new one that started in November, that actually started here and now is meeting at a church further down Newsom Road. But,
Okay, so I'm wondering-
but, all right, so what I have done though, on our website, if you go to our website and look for events there, not only are all of the events listed, but you can pull up a map that shows you, you know, like a global thing of these are where all of these events
And
are.
that's wonderful if I'm looking for somewhere to go, but as somebody who's looking for information, I'm getting too much.
Like, is there a way to be, you know, like with Meetup, you sign up for that Meetup,
Uh-huh.
okay, and Meetup may send you saying things, so there's other things, you're single women that wanna do, and you aren't gonna get those meetups, cause you're not signed up for it. By being signed up for PBMN, we're getting everything for all
The whole
of
area.
your
I think
areas.
that's
Now,
how
if
it
there
is
was a
for-
filter, like you said, or a
Yeah.
setting, and let's say you wanted just your area, northwest suburbs or something like that,
Yeah.
it would really help.
Okay.
I don't know,
agree.
I don't
I'm
know
getting
if the
so
meetup gives
much.
you that flexibility.
What I
mean,
think
that's-
you need is to subdivide your meetups, like have your meetups instead of under one huge umbrella for the
Right.
entire area.
Uh-huh.
You have them maybe by county or
Well,
by.
each meetup has a fee, there's a fee to go, it's not free to be on meetup, just so you
No, I know that, but I'm
So,
saying that a lot of
They're
people.
expensive, they have
The
several different
notifications.
meetups.
Like I know,
That's what it is.
like
Yeah.
for example,
But aren't we
Chocolate
paying for
comes
that?
from, Sherry
Huh?
comes from,
Are we
all
paying
this
for
other
that?
stuff, and I often miss.
That's a
I often
one-time
miss
fee,
stuff,
that's
and
not-
then, you know.
No, the
Susie
$25 a
or
class,
somebody
that's
else
an
says, "Oh,
admin
did you
fee,
see it?" And I'm
fee
like,
we're
"No, I
paying to
didn't."
have something
You
marketed.
know, you know
So
what I
that
do,
the
I don't.
meetup was that
I don't-
complicated.
I got a separate email for Meetup and I never look at it. And I just go directly to the Meetup sites I'm interested in, and then I can figure out what
I
everybody's
have to
doing.
remember to do that.
That's a good idea.
That, cause it's too much googly gop.
Yeah.
If
Yeah, it
you
is true.
look at all
And
the
the thing
stuff
is, you have to
they
open
send.
it up to find out it's in Valparaiso.
No, actually, what I have been doing
Is it
is
in the
for the
subject?
PBNM groups and everything, it'll say PBNM group Aurora, PBNM
Right,
Group,
'cause that
Desi.
helps,
and-
because then
yeah.
it's just in your list and you can say.
Yeah,
it's
exactly,
on
you
that.
see it on the
That's
name, and we would do
really
the same
helpful.
thing, for the cooking classes, to identify it at the beginning of the name, so when you see it on the email list, you say, okay, this is a town that, is accessible to me, or this is not, and then you just delete the
Does
ones that are
Meetup
not.
still charge $5 per person in your group?
They do, don't they?
Is Meetup $5 per person in your group?
You mean for someone who has a
yearly
no.
Dr. Loam, is the
It's a yearly
cardiologist.
charge, right.
Yeah, he's the one that handles all the billing stuff, so I really don't know anything about that.
It's a yearly charge.
Just charge that if you want to be a part
Is
of
it
it.
90 a year or something like that?
I think it
Oh,
depends
no,
on.
90 every 6 months.
Well, I think it depends on what your participation is.
Right.
So we've got so many meetups that, that I don't know, a couple of
That's not
months.
whole point.
Only
You
if
have so
your
many.
participation is very, very low, is it lower. And most people pay 180 a year, because I have 3 meetup, but you
Maybe
can
that's
have
what's
3
gonna happen
meetups.
eventually, but right now, because we're just starting,
Yes.
yeah, we need to focus on, getting together people who really wanna join, and then, the meetup, that's something. I mean, down the road, what we could do, we could have listed, and I don't know if that's going to be feasible, on the website where the next events are happening, and that's all.
You guys want to have some carrots? We actually have some.
So
So going back to this, because I feel like we have a lot of site, I feel like I'm back in my classroom.
The classes.
You guys want some carrots?
Yeah, one that is just, these are the PBNM cooking classes.
Are you interested in some
And then-
carrots for a snack?
Do you want some?
Okay, so we do have applications. If you're interested in filling it out now, or you can go home and think about it either way. The payment, the one-time fee of $90 is directly on our website, and Judy is gonna bring it up. You can pay with,
It's through PayPal, so if you have a PayPal account, you can choose to use that, or you could say, you can donate with a debit card or a credit card. So it's just from the website.
so is the whole application online as well, right? Or is it just here and the payment
I
is there?
did not put it.
Okay, so if you're in, so the application we gave to you, and then payment is online, which it tells you on the second page. Yes.
So can we give you the application today and then decide we're gonna do this?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Is there a way to do this online?
Yeah, that's why I was asking. There's not a
You
way
know
to
what?
do this, right?
Huh? You know what, I can probably, most of you filled out a little form online to say that you were coming, and there was a list, well, when you filled out the form, I got a list that had all that information just in like an Excel spreadsheet. So I can probably do the same thing, use that same tool to create a form online where you can fill it out there, and I would just get a list of all the information that everybody had.
But also another option is you can fill this out and then do the payment, and you can still think about it, of course, this doesn't hold you to it. Yes.
Another question about location, so if you decide to do it at your home,
Yes.
when you advertise it, does it just say, like we live in Algonquin, so does it just say Algonquin, doesn't have your address, does it, until we know who's coming, or?
Right,
I mean-
that's true.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure.
No, that's
how you-
exactly, because Sherry did it and her address wasn't out there. They would, when they, say they want to join, then they're given it. It's not out to the world.
Okay.
And also, when you do decide, if you decide to do it, when you're sending the information to Judy, you're given, telling her how much you're gonna charge, because obviously, this was a recommended, but it depends what you're doing and whatever you're comfortable with. So that she could let people, it would have to say on the meetup the price, for people to know, so that they have.
Do you have ideas, I know you said there's a recipe or menus, but I'm getting a lot of people that say, I don't know how to start, or I don't know what to do,
Yes.
so they don't really wanna know how to make appetizers.
Absolutely, that's
They
actually
wanna
part,
know what does a day look like at
that's the
meeting?
part of the training.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That's a part of the training that we're gonna go into. This was just this, just a little bit
So that'll be
overview
part of the training, will be
on June 8th.
to come
Well,
up with like
I
a
think actually the first,
curriculum, or-
Yes.
the first training, the first class, I think, is one that is very detailed in terms of, like you say, people, once they get the idea in their head that this sounds like a really good thing to do for my health, but now what? you know, that's part of
Yes,
it.
absolutely.
And the first class really is, there's a lot of content. I don't know how you fill it into one class.
So what do you mean by the first class? You mean
The first
that you're gonna suggest for people
the material that is available for the instructor to have for their first class to develop, to, you know, so that's something that probably can be spread out over
Of
a
course,
couple of
yeah.
classes, absolutely.
Did you say how long the training was, how many hours?
We think of
We were
around
thinking
5,
6 hours,
5 or
but
6 hours.
I have another question. When the presentations are done by Dr. Loma or whoever, and to the public, and you've got people then that are interested in the cooking classes, if you don't have anybody that's already said, you know, I'm doing appetizers on Tuesday or something, are you gonna go out to the instructors and say, we've got a good number of people here that would like this, and then be appealing to them that way? Because the whole idea, I thought, was have people come and say, yeah, I don't know how to do it now, and then have PBMN have these places, these classes available. But if they're being posted, I mean, it's like the cart before the horse, which is happening first? Does he already know that someone's going to have a class?
Are you talking about Dr. Loma's presentations?
Right, I mean, that's how you bring the public in, right?
Right.
The presentations, all the meetups and stuff that say how to reverse heart disease.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're making available to them an ability to learn how to do it. So
Mm-hmm.
how do you connect the two if nobody has said, I've got a class on next Wednesday or whatever? Are you appealing then to the instructors and saying, we need someone in this area to do it? That's, I guess, my question.
Well, that's what, like, if you notice, when I send out the newsletter each month, you know, I have been requesting, you know, anybody that's interested in doing these classes or any of the things, or holding the groups or any of that sort of thing, because I have created a map that shows now where the groups are, and I plan to do the same thing for where the cooking classes are, because when you look at the map, you can see where the holes are.
Okay.
You know, so you could say, okay, yes, we've got this one in Algonquin, we've got this one in Lake Zurich, we've got this one in whatever.
Based on who comes to your training class.
Right,
Okay.
Yeah.
but Dr. Holmes' presentations are very educational. It's more of the why should we
Right.
eat this way, so it's
Well,
you know.
and amongst the thing, and I don't know where he finds time to do all the stuff that he does, but I know amongst his ambitions for this, and he may reach out to some of the other physicians that are on the board, or physicians that maybe are not on the board but are willing to do this, to do like 10-minute spots. Not these long, hour-long presentations, which are chock full of great information and all that, but you know, for the cooking class, you don't want that. You want maybe a little bit of targeted information that is new information for the most part for the people that are in your audience, but can be a springboard then for whatever it is that you're doing in that particular classes. So, yeah.
Excuse me. Sorry, extra carrot. If anyone here hasn't seen Dr. Loam's presentation, he has the credentials or the background or the experience
Absolutely.
I know I couldn't do it, but he gets in people's faces in a loving, caring
Right.
way.
Yeah.
Well, because he's lived it and
Yes,
done
yes,
it.
exactly,
So,
exactly.
yeah.
If I had a wish list, it would be to take his hour-and-a-half presentation and cut it into 5 minutes.
If I
there was
had
a
that
way,
wish, if I knew how, if I knew
Yeah,
how,
I would really.
to tell you the truth, you know, when I started this, you know, I had my phone, and I have been trying to get good video of his presentations for the, you know, since I started with, you know, back in June of last year. And it took me a while. I couldn't get it more than 10 minutes at a time on my phone, but then it was chopping up his presentation. So I invested in a video camera so I can do that. And the first couple times I did that, I still screwed that up too. But they're getting better. So I have gotten a couple of decent presentations that he has done. Sometimes the lighting is not the greatest, but you know, his audio is really good and that kind of thing. Or sometimes he's over here and the visuals are over here and I can't get both of them in the screen, that kind of thing. So we're trying to get that, and the idea is then to break the, you know, break it down into segments. Problem is that he talks so fast.
I know.
That to try to get, you know, he keeps on
You need
thinking
to
like,
tune him down.
I trust me, I have tried, I have
Chef
tried.
AJ, all these people
I know.
are just off out of the gates.
I know, I
It could be
know.
a turnoff for some people. I told him, go and look
Well,
at
he's
Chef
trying
AJ,
to
and
make
then all of a
it
sudden-
not so
Not him,
long.
but I'm saying
Yeah.
some of the other cooks.
Yeah, no,
that
he's
are on
trying to make
YouTube and stuff.
he's trying to make the talks
Yeah.
not quite so long, so he talks faster,
Yeah.
because there's so much that he wants to get out there. And now he's started adding a little bit about the environment and climate change, and a little bit about, you know, animal cruelty and everything. And that's probably, I would say, if he's talking for an hour, that is maybe 2 to 3 minutes, so
Right.
it's not a major
Well, the
focus,
meetup
but.
was a great example if anybody went to the Indian position,
Yeah,
or whatever.
Right.
He did
The
it in
Disney-
half an hour and he talked very slowly. His
Did you have
PowerPoint
that
was
videotape?
amazing
Huh?
and you can go online and see it.
That sounds like
So,
that.
Yeah, I think I do.
that combined with the training, possibly.
Oh, maybe we'll use
It
that.
wasn't 30 minutes, it was like 45 minutes. Yeah, it was definitely a.
Oh, you got it.
My friend did.
Judy, why don't you let them know that,
Like shared
Dr. Long is
that,
also
and his
doing
name
a
is-
weekly Facebook or every other week Facebook on certain.
No, it actually, he did that, he did 3 Facebook Lives. Now what he is doing is, once a week, and I think he's planning on still doing it like on Mondays, but it's not a Facebook Live. I don't know if you've ever heard of Heartstrong. That was, Heartstrong and Learn the Heart were 2 of his original brands, you know, once he made this transition himself. And what he's doing now, because what's happening is, you know, PBNM is, we're getting our name out. We've got a chapter now in Tampa Bay, Florida. We've got another one that's you know, is starting, and they're using the name in, is it Georgia? I forget, someplace else. And then we've got Milwaukee wants to start a chapter. What's happened is it's getting out there, but it's so, you know, it's so stretched out, and you know, we really haven't gotten Chicago under our belt yet. So what he's trying to do is use the Heartstrong name to build his own brand and the information, and these are 10-minute videos. So he's doing this under his Heartstrong label. And I was with him yesterday because we were out walking at Bussy Woods for the 5K. And he mentioned this and he asked me if I'd seen it yet. And I said, yes. I said, but why didn't you do that for PBNM? And he says, because I don't want to get thousands of people from all over the country and around the world, because we can't service them yet because we don't have chapters all over the world. So, you know, which makes perfect sense to me when he brought that up. Not that we can't put those videos on our YouTube channel as well. That would be no problem.
So how do you view these 10-minute Heartstrong videos?
He's got a YouTube channel for that. What's going to happen? He's doing another one. He's done 2 of them so far. And they're very good. They're quiet. He's in his office in his home. It's very professional and everything. And you see all of the screens of all of the things that he's talking about, just like you're at a live presentation. He's going to be putting another one out on Monday, he told me. And when he does that, then I'm going to add a link to that. Well, I'll add the visual to it, so you just click it and you'll see the video on our next newsletter. I'm planning on having the next newsletter go out about the 15th or 16th. It'll be right after he does that.
Do you just go to YouTube and then put in his name?
If you put in Heartstrong. For that one, you put in Heartstrong.
We could show that at the training, if it's only 10 minutes.
What?
Show that at the training.
Yeah, we should, that would be a good idea.
Yeah.
We could get that.
Yeah,
Yes.
but in the next newsletter, when the next newsletter goes out, you know, I'll have links to that particular video, but when you're on that video, then you can subscribe to that channel as you're looking at the video. The Heartstrong channel.
Oh.
And then you'll get notified if there's
I
anything
The
new.
YouTube channel.
More notifications.
I know,
You-
it's
you have
just
a-
plain old
I know, believe me.
There's a question in the back.
I'm always,
Thank you so much.
For those of you that have done the cooking classes, is there a time frame that works well, or a number of times?
Yeah, a
that you've
couple
done it?
hours,
Like a
usually
couple hours,
6
2
to 8,
hours,
usually
or
2 hours.
2 hours.
Is that way you have time to partake of the food and socialize
Yes,
too?
absolutely.
And then just do it, you started just once and then see if there's interest in another month or
Oh, yeah, yeah.
whatever you want.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
absolutely.
just open to
Oh, yeah.
So has there been a lot of interest in people doing these, coming to the cooking classes? I mean,
Well, I just know
people-
ours, the ones in Lincolnshire, we never had a problem filling up the classes.
I know when I do mine here, and I do it quarterly, plant-based ones, the room is full. I have 60 people here every single time. So there is a demand.
Do you ever team up, put people together too? So like if someone doesn't have a home that, you know, but they wanna do it with somebody?
Oh,
or,
absolutely.
Like if you've got two people in the same area, you wanna be like.
That's a great
Right.
idea
Yeah.
to be teaming up.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So if your husband is gonna be your teammate, do they have to go through the cooking class also?
Oh, that's a good question.
I guess, well,
You shouldn't ask that, just do it.
use your own judgment.
Well, I think it will go to the fact who's gonna be the leader.
Yeah,
Like
that's
me and my husband, we run this business together. He's the cooking part, and I'm the administrative part. So I don't. I mean, I cook sometimes, but mostly it's him who does it. So for all the training and stuff,
Yeah,
it
so
was him
that's
who
a
did
good
it.
point. I think
So-
if you're, I think, yeah, because Sherry's husband was there, but he really,
So he would be my sous chef.
he was a security.
Yeah, there you go.
guard.
Yes.
He works security. So if he's not doing the cooking, I think that's the key part. If
Yeah.
he's gonna be partaking in the cooking, I would think that he should.
Yeah, I think
go
if
through
if
it.
you decide that it's one of you cooking, then there shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
I'm gonna pass this around, if anyone has a phone, you wanna take a picture of it, just so you have the website and the code later at home if you
Did you have
want
a
to.
question?
If you guys want it.
When we
Pass it around.
conduct the cooking classes, we're buying and paying for our own
Yes,
food?
yes,
Yes.
yes, you are.
But that's why you charge for the class.
Yes, that's why you have to figure out how much, we came up with $20 a person seemed to be a good amount. 'Cause
Well,
it's,
I think a lot of the Food for Life classes, that's what they charge for
Yeah.
their classes, and theirs are usually, I think, samples are.
I've charged $25.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
so 20, 25, whatever
And
you
is that
think.
for sampling versus a meal?
It's a sampling only. Absolutely. And they go home with recipes, so they take home some stuff with them.
Yeah,
I think it's important too when you think about the fee, because they are not paying for the food, they are
Right.
paying for the information.
that's exactly right.
You're being reimbursed for your expenses, so when you decide on how much you're gonna charge,
Right.
it's more or less to cover what you spent.
Right, exactly,
Isn't it?
and
Oh, yeah, you'll
and you're
definitely cover
basing,
what you spend and then, you'll
and you're
have a little
basing
bit,
what
not
you
so
spend
much.
on how much product you are purchasing based on the number of people who have enrolled in that class, too. So it's
Well, you have
important
to-
that you
yeah.
be aware of, that you be the, what happens when I create the meetup is I assign whoever it is that is the, like when Sherry does a class and I put that on meetup, I'm not the administrator of that meetup, Sherry is. So the person whose home it is or who's conducting that class, then you have to be a member of meetup so that I can assign you. And that way you've got the information and you can just, glance over there and see, oh, I've got 12 people that have signed up, or I've got 6 people, or whatever, and then you can shop accordingly. I'm so sorry.
And
So
it's
you have to
free,
become a
and
member.
the meetup is free for you.
Oh,
It's
okay.
only,
Oh,
it's
yeah,
only
because
a
we're
fee
not.
Yeah, that's a good
for
question.
us as the administrator of it. It
Right.
doesn't cost you
Right.
anything to be on meetup.
Right.
For the
You are paying for the food, like I said, the food, that's gonna be your main, expense, is the food.
And if you post it and you wind up only having
No,
2
you're
people,
free just to
is
be
there
on
a
meetup, just like
minimum?
Facebook.
No, it's because you have to still pay $25, so it would obviously make sense to have a little, I probably wouldn't have a class for 2 people.
I'm saying is, what if that's what happened?
You
You would probably have an option to say minimum 6,
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Not through us.
and then someone
And
would
then
have to
if-
make arrangements to get them reimbursed.
right. Yeah, they would be charged for something, right? I mean, you could put a minimum, can't you? If people say it.
Well, we could say a minimum of a certain number.
Well, whatever.
But what
We have
happens
to-
is if we're not getting the signups and everything, let me know that you're not getting the signups, and I'll go in there and I'll mark, this class was canceled.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the question, I guess, was who's gonna reimburse those 2 that already signed up?
We we haven't determined exactly which program we're going to be using. If we're going to be using PayPal for those signups, or if we're going to be using a different service. Because some of the services, and I've checked into a few, the 2 that were recommended, and they're really more designed for you dealing with a family member or somebody that you personally know. It's not so much for an organization dealing with the public. And, you know, when I saw what was entailed with them, and what really scared me was it says, well, if there is a problem, like somebody says that they paid, but there's no proof that they paid or whatever, and you know, it's up to the seller and the buyer to work that out amongst them. So what do you do if somebody comes to your class that says I paid my $20, only the $20 never showed up in our system? You know, I don't want to put people in that kind of liability. So I figured right now we're looking at PayPal. And PayPal, you can do refunds through PayPal. So,
I also, yeah,
Where do all the proceeds go?
well, it's going to the PBNM.
it's a fundraiser for
Yeah.
PBNM.
And what does I was
Plant-based nutrition.
Just
PBNM.
it used to be CPBNM, so we got one out.
What are the fundraising? I mean, this could be a substantial amount of money.
Over
If you
time.
have, over time, if you have 30 instructors that do one program a month and then 2 programs a month.
Right.
Um,
You should hear, have you heard Dr. Loam talk about his
He has a
vision
He has a
of
vision,
what?
he has a huge
No.
vision.
Okay, he would like, all right, there are places like, for example, True North out in California, and there are different institutes around the country that are health promoting kinds of institutes. His vision is to have a big one here in Chicago, where you have doctors on staff that, you know, where plants are basically what they are prescribed. Not that they don't
Food is
prescribe other
medicine,
things. Food is medicine, and it's the plan A, and there are other things than pharmaceuticals and whatnot that become a plan B. They're not the first thing that you go to. But where you can conduct classes, where they have a restaurant for people to come and eat a whole food, plant-based, well-cooked meal with professional chefs and that sort of thing. And where we can be doing a whole lot of different initiatives, bring in speakers from around the country or around the world if there's speakers internationally that we would want to bring in. So you can have people come in like Caldwell Esselstyn and Colin Campbell and Neil Bernard and McDougall, and you know, all of the big names in the plant-based field and everything to come in and speak. And like Dr. Greger charges $15,000, you know, just for him to come in, and you know, we can't afford that now. So we would like to be able to bring in the people that have the best information and can do the best motivation. But I mean, we're talking about a very broad spectrum kind of an institute. So the money is really to try to drive that and help us bring that forward.
And even on a closer, maybe having book groups or having a way that we can go into doctors who are interested and actually do what the pharma reps do, put on a plant-based lunch and then talk, you know, about, do you know that, you know, because I think a lot of doctors would kind of say, well, they could try it, but I know they won't succeed, so I don't want to be giving them this information. Here, go out and eat plant-based. They're not going to do it.
Right.
But if we can say, you know what, we have cooking classes, so you tell your people and then we'll help, we'll take their hands, because that's what you need for so many.
Right.
So, you know, that's where that money will, I mean, that part of that money is going to go for those. It's expensive to get that rolling.
Right.
So,
right now we've got 3 core initiatives. The core initiatives really are the plant-based groups, the cooking classes, and the presentations. And those 3 things are designed, hopefully, you know, as we build out, to generate greater awareness and also support for the people that are already participating. Once those things are more manifest, you know, in our area, then we want to do things like going to restaurants and try to, you know, to have like a business card to hand them to say, you know, we would like to encourage people to eat more healthily and everything. And you know, like I was at a Thai restaurant today, and when I asked her, you know, I'm vegan, because I knew she would know what that meant. I usually don't use that term, but whatever. And I said, and I try to avoid oil. So can you prepare this dish without any oil? She says, certainly, no problem. So when you find restaurants like that, wouldn't it be nice to have a nice list, a directory, you know, with more detailed information, not to say just, here's the name and address of this restaurant, but to give a little bit of information about that restaurant and what to ask for and how to address or who to address to get the kind of food that is going to be most health promoting, to have that in there. But then also, there are a couple of physicians directories online now, like plant-based doctors and plant-based docs. I think one's a .org and the other's a .com. They are self-identified doctors, but we really don't know. There was never any vetting of them, so we don't know whether a doctor got this idea and just wanted to put their name out there to get more business, or if they really are in fact a plant promoting physicians. So one of our initiatives is to get certainly get those doctors vetted to find out, okay, what is your level of commitment to a whole food plant-based diet and promoting it to your patients or not. And then to have our own directory that we can add new physicians to as new physicians come on board, as they become aware. Because Dr. Loam, it was only 2.5 years ago that he wasn't a plant-based doctor, because he didn't know, that's how recent it is even for him. So, more and more are coming on, and
Is it a non-for-profit then organization
Yes.
or not? It is.
it is. We are
Because I know
an
they
official.
raise money and everything.
Yeah, we are an official 501c3 organization, and if somebody needs a copy of the document, I can provide it, yeah.
A
And
friend
we're
of
all
mine is a
volunteers, we're not getting paid, we don't
Yeah,
get
that's,
any money.
yeah, none of us
Nothing
are
is-
getting anything.
We're all volunteers,
Yes.
just so you guys know, we're
Yeah.
not making any money on it.
No.
We wanna educate you, we're just, it's just, it's our passion.
Mhm.
We all have other
Thanks for bringing it up, yeah,
businesses
because,
and we
yeah.
have our passion and we just wanna get it out there because
Yeah.
it's been life changing. Every
Yes.
one of us has a story.
Right.
We either lost weight, we've got off
Reverse diseases and
reverse
stuff.
diseases,
Yeah.
got off drugs and just, or we have family members that
And I
have, so.
suspect almost everyone in here
Probably.
is similar,
You're probably
that's why
right.
you're here and
A comment, a friend of mine is a plant-based physician who opened a practice now in Southern Illinois.
Oh, wow.
And she is certified plant-based. She had to go through training with Dr. Essenstein and the other group of doctors there,
Right.
and to become actually certified. And,
See, that's the kind of information we want to have available on the
Right.
website.
right.
We've got, actually,
And
there's a
I think
tab
that's
there.
really important
Yeah.
because
Oh.
she's the one who led the class that, CHIP class that started me on this whole thing.
Oh, wow.
I will
And-
tell you, we've got doctors who are trying to, they would love to bring CHIP more, because I think there was only one CHIP facility here, and I forget, like Elmhurst or someplace, I don't know. But I don't think they're even holding it any longer.
I
It's
looked
like-
into it actually, I looked into it when I was researching, I'm certified in plant-based nutrition out of the Cornell
Right,
University.
yeah, so
I did
am I.
that online,
Yeah,
so
same
I
here.
learned a lot on that and some of, Judy is, so we all self-educated or educated where we can, and we do wanna share it with people that are like-minded and connect us all in Chicago so we could just, get that word out here.
Absolutely.
So the next big event we
Yeah,
have
if
is
you
the
can
race.
send me her information,
Yeah, that'd be
okay,
great.
please do, because
It's the
I will add
race,
the.
it's on April.
There
is it
is a
April
place on the site for
27th?
plant-based doctors.
Saturday, April
Okay. And how
27th.
do I let you know?
It's on
Judy
Spring
at
for Health, it's on the
PBNM, it's
PBNM
JUDI
website.
at pbnm.org.
Yeah, sorry. So the next big event is our race, Spring into Health, and it's also a fundraiser, a 5K race.
Run and walk.
And
Run
walk.
and walk, yes. It's a family-friendly kind of thing, and a couple people have emailed me saying, can I, I've got a little one in stroller, can I bring a running stroller? Yes, they will just be
And who's
started.
gonna be there, Miss Illinois or somebody?
Mrs. Illinois International is going to be there. Marty Robinson, she's a doll, a sweetheart, and Food is Medicine is her platform. So she'll be there speaking, and a bunch of physicians will be there. We were going to have Dr. Joel Kahn. He was going to be our headliner, and we found out a week ago that he is going to is it a paleo event or a keto event?
What?
Yeah, one of the two. No, because he figured coming to us is like speaking to the choir, or preaching to the choir.
Oh, so he wants to go.
And he wants to go
Educate those folks.
Yeah, exactly.
Very hard to educate keto people because they're
Yeah.
losing weight.
Yeah.
But their insides, they're killing their insides.
They
They're
are.
losing money. I have 2 people at work, I'm like, don't even talk to me.
Yeah.
Since you're talking about the race, do you want to put it out there that if anybody does want to volunteer?
Because you're
Oh,
losing-
yes, yeah, actually, we are looking for
Because they
volunteers
don't
and
have
for the
to-
5K.
They can eat what.
Yeah, for helping people register, you know, passing out the baggies and shirts and everything when people come. And then, I think we need like 3 or 4 just water stations on the thing. The stations are gonna be, the water stations are gonna be marked and the path is gonna be well marked and everything. But just to have guides, so if somebody, you know, somebody has a question or whatever, along the way, that they have somebody that they can identify that, okay, can direct them where they need
It's
to go.
only
or
about
answer
2
the-
weeks out and I haven't received a single notification.
It's in all of the.
Volunteer.
It's
Huh?
every, it's
Oh, no.
all about
Did
volunteering.
you get the newsletter?
I do, and
It's in
I
it.
read
it's
it.
in the newsletter, so you have to read a newsletter to find out
Well,
where-
you don't have to read have you ever seen the newsletter?
No, but I know, but I signed up to be a volunteer and there's been nothing,
Yeah.
nothing. I've
I
not gotten
have,
anything.
I know I have a list of, I know I have sent out some things for volunteers, but I might not have.
I can't imagine the poor
You need an
pressure I
assistant.
had.
Tell
It was
them
terrible.
what time to show up.
Because I'm
What
trying
time
to
to
show up
make
at
this
7?
2 weeks out.
7:30.
7:30 on the 27th, Grove 24 at Bussy Woods, which is really easy to find.
So you're just having one central place for volunteers, you're not having them staged, it's only 3.5 miles, right? So you're
Right.
not having them staged, it's not, you know.
Well, you're meeting there and then
Then
we'll
they
let
might be
people know
dispersed.
where.
Okay.
And there will be a couple of people that will be out along the path.
All right, and
okay.
you're going to get a hold of the volunteers then and tell them to meet there? Or that's in the newsletter?
Well, the request for people to sign up to be a volunteer at the thing has been in the newsletter the last couple of months. But I mean, it's like the Spring into the Health is the big Spring into Health
Okay.
image of the thing. So it's not like you're reading a whole bunch of stuff to get to it. It's really
Is it too late
Maybe
to
we should make sure.
volunteer?
not at all.
See, I've already paid and I signed up to be a volunteer, but I haven't had any information. Then they were talking about feeding them and I still haven't heard anything. And I was like,
Yeah.
well, are we supposed to bring food or, you know?
No,
what
no,
are we-
we are definitely going to bring
You
food.
haven't,
We've got a gal
Okay.
who is going to be doing a cooking demonstration. She's
Oh,
a
thank you. So
professional chef.
you're set with that? You
Yeah.
just need volunteers to show up and do that?
Perfect, oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, what's your name?
No, it's okay, Elizabeth. But
Is anyone else planning?
I signed up and
I'm gonna be.
I will be there.
I'm already signed up. So Judy, maybe what we need to do, because I'm sure you get people who volunteered already,
Yeah, if,
you would just need to create an email or something, you know,
Right.
that's gonna go out to them specifically.
Yeah.
I have a list that is the 5K committee, and a list that was like 4 people that was volunteer, and I don't remember who's on the list at all. Maybe if you wouldn't mind, if you are interested in volunteering for that event.
No, what happened was I have another obligation now.
Oh,
And so she's gonna take my place.
okay.
She's
Should
gonna
I
volunteer.
give,
I feel
should I give my
awful.
name to you?
Because I did not have that date.
How
there.
about anybody who is interested in being there as a
Does
volunteer?
it cost, you don't pay the 25.
I want to thank everybody for coming, and if you have any questions going further, even if it's not answered today, you know, let us know.
Yes.
I didn't want to.
Judy.
Hold on.
Because I did just
Oh.
have to try one.
So what do we do?
Sorry.
We wanna come and join?
Where's
forget.
where's the
I
stuff?
have one.
Well, so we have to have that prior, and then, you know.